Hi guys. Hopefully the audio is better this week. I'm also using Filmic. I was told the audio was a bit low by Gary over at Script Revolution, so hopefully this has fixed it. This week we're going to look at editing a script. A lot of people will say, oh, my script's too long, how do I cut it down? I always sort of say, well, you compact things, you remove duplicate scenes that achieve the same thing. This week we're going to do it. There's 3 small scenes that I'll read. You'll also see them on the screen. And then we'll talk through getting them into one. Okay, so this is the first one. Interior day. Light streams through a well-maintained, neat country-style kitchen. Anne in her 50s, white, dressed simply in jeans, a blouse, is washing vegetables in a large sink. Anne struggles for a name. Jill, early 20s, sits at a table flicking through a magazine. She stops and looks at Anne. Jill, pissed off. Annette. Anne, sorry, Annette. Is she coming? Jill. No, she has her own family. Jill goes back to reading the magazine. Anne. Is she nice? Jill. Enough. Anne. So she... Jill stops reading. Shit, Mum. I'm reading. End of scene. So in that first scene, we've seen that Anne is trying to engage with Jill about Annette. Jill really doesn't have any time for Anne. We learn that Anne is her mum, and there's a little bit of tension in their relationship. The next scene is Anne trying to engage with Jill again. This is the scene. Interior bedroom, night. Jill is in her pyjamas. She is folding the clothes, I should have put that she was wearing earlier, and sticking them back in the suitcase sitting on her bed. Anne sticks her head in the room. Knock, knock. Anne enters. Anne. Annette. Is she serious? Jill. About what? Anne is a little uncomfortable. Anne. Are you and her serious? Jill closes the case and puts it on the floor. Jill. That's none of your business. Anne. It'd be nice to know if my daughter has, someone. Jill. Girlfriend. Lesbians have girlfriends, not someone's. End of scene. So we've now got a tension between Mum and Jill, between Anne and Jill, that has previously been something. Jill has a girlfriend, maybe Anne's uncomfortable with that, we don't know why. Anne's trying to engage with her daughter about her relationship with Annette, but it's not going well. A third scene. In this scene, we're introducing Dad. James is his name. So, interior, kitchen, night. Anne sits at the table drinking tea. She is staring at the tea, deep in thought. James, tall, perhaps 60, dressed a bit like a lumberjack, rural. He wears his age well, enters the room and smiles when he sees Anne. James. Hey you. Anne glances up. Hi. James can see that Anne is upset. 30 years of marriage does that. James. I take it you two had words. James sits opposite Anne. Anne. She hates me. Jill enters the room. Jill. I'm just getting a drink. You can go back to talking about me once I go. Jill heads to the sink, grabs a cup and fills it. James. Don't even get a hello. Jill softens slightly. Hi, Dad. End of scene. So there's 3 separate scenes. Each one is about a page. So if we're going to edit, and I've said before, try not to make sure 2 scenes do the same thing. Well, let's look at some of the same things that these scenes do. All of the scenes have that Jill and Anne have a tension. And they reintroduce it every single time. You don't need to do that. You've introduced it once, move on. Dad comes in, he's got one function in that scene. Hi, and he's underlining the fact again. They've had words. There's a tension between them. It's being underlined again. We can move that on. Anne tries to talk about Annette, Jill's girlfriend, twice. It happens. So that can be compressed again. And I've pushed all that into one scene, one page, so we would have reduced this by 2 pages. So this is what the new scene would look like. And it has a lot of the same dialogue and a lot of the same scene description, but it's been pushed into one page. And it gets all the emotions across, it gets the relationships across. It's a good little scene. Interior, kitchen, day. Light streams through a well-maintained, neat country-style kitchen. Anne in her 50s, white, dressed simply in jeans and a blouse, is washing vegetables in a large sink. Anne struggles for a name. Jill, early 20s, sits at a table flicking through a magazine. James, 60, dressed as country as the kitchen, sits opposite Jill. Jill stops reading and looks up at Anne, pissed off. James jumps in. James, Annette. Jill, yeah. I think you'd be able to remember that. James frowns at Jill. She responds with a okay, sorry glance and goes back to her magazine. James, so we're going to meet her? Or are you too embarrassed for the country bumpkins? Jill softens and puts down the magazine. She's got her family up north, so she only gets to see them once a year. Anne, that would be tough. Jill ignores that. And what about Easter? Jill, you have a lot of church stuff on then. In one page, we've got a lot of the same message across. Anne has a strained relationship with her daughter. She's trying to engage with her daughter around the new girlfriend. Dad has a good relationship with the daughter. He's acting as a mediator. In that same thing, I take it you two have had words, like, I'm going to try to repair that for you. But he's jumping in now and stopping that from escalating. So we've got the subtext there that Mum and Jill don't get on. Dad's the mediator. Dad and Jill get on fine. And now we've also got a hint that maybe this is the reason why there is that tension. Is because, would she come down at Easter? Well, you've got some church stuff. And that sort of hints at the subtext of, well, you don't like me having a same-sex relationship because you're a church person. Not all church people are like that, but in this story, maybe Anne is. She also has that little dig at her mum, that her girlfriend's name's Annette and her mum's name is Anne. Like, you'd think you'd remember that. So there's all these little things going on, but it's now one page. We've managed to reduce the 3 pages by 60% down to a 1-page story. And that's how you do these things. You look at what each scene is trying to achieve. You look at the job that it's doing. And then you see if that job is being repeated somewhere else. The job was Anne and Jill have tension. Anne is trying to connect with Jill and she's failing. Dad is the mediator between the two, but we don't see that straight away. We see him come to Mum and act as the mediator, but only in half that relationship. So we can shorten that intro into him being the mediator by having him mediate straight away. So that's all in one page now. So we've managed to make it a tighter, more compact script by looking at what the scenes achieve and what the scenes are meant to achieve and not what the words are. If you look at the words, you try to take it ands and ahs and think that doesn't work. If you look at what the scene is doing, the heavy lifting, what you're trying to achieve with that scene, and then rewrite that so it happens in one scene rather than over 3 or 4. Then you can go back and remove those three or 4. There might be other things in those 3 or 4 that you have to put in somewhere else. Like Jill putting her clothes back in the bag so she's ready to leave at any time. That's a little hidden message there. We might introduce that somewhere else. Like Dad might say, have you got any washing? I'm about to put some washing on. She goes, no, I'll do it when I get back. I'm just leaving it all in my bag. You can introduce these in other ways. It doesn't have to be in these scenes. You try to get as much message into a scene as you can. And that's the way you can make your longer scripts a bit shorter. As always, if you like what you see, comment, leave a like, All those things really help other writers find this channel. If you think it's got value, thank you very much. If you want to leave a longer question, go over to griffithscreative.com.au. There's the contact us form. You can put stuff in. If you leave comments underneath, that'll engage in conversation. We can answer those here. If you've got topics, questions, things you want to see answered or discussed, and I'll go out to, and if I don't know, I'll go and find some answers for you. Leave them in the comments below. I always push Script Revolution. It's free. You can host your scripts there. Producers go there. I have sold scripts through there. There's a lot of people over there selling scripts. It's free. I strongly suggest that you actually give a bit of money to them, because free things don't last forever. But there's heaps of other services that are far more expensive that you don't need to use. This is your foot in the door into the indie world, which is where I live, over there at Script Revolution. So until next time, keep writing.